Hi everyone, welcome back to Lost in My Library. My name is Kate. Today I am doing a book review on Final Girls by Riley Sager. So Final Girls is about a novel about, Final Girls. And if you don't know what Final Girls is, it's a horror movie trope where take a slasher like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, and the girl who survives to the very end of a massacre of usually her friends, she becomes what's known as the final girl, and it's a big trope in horror movies, specifically slasher movies. So this book takes that idea and runs with what's the idea of what is the life of a final girl after the incident. And this takes place 9 years after our main character Quincy experienced a horrible ordeal at the cabin Pine Cottage, which is where her friends got brutally murdered. And there's a lot of mystery behind that because she doesn't remember anything except the start, and then like all the killings and all the stabbing stuff she doesn't remember, and then she remembers running out in the woods and meeting Coop, the cop who saves her and takes her back to civilization. And she's like drenched in blood and everything. Oh yeah. So there's a lot to unpack here about her not remembering, and so you're wondering, well, is she an unreliable narrator? Is there stuff that she's intentionally not telling us, intentionally not telling her friends that we just don't know about? And so you just kind of have to roll with it. And it doesn't really seem suspicious until other people really seemed suspicious about it and started questioning her more and more as the novel went on. In the book, at the very beginning of the story, this isn't a spoiler, but in the United States, there's been 3 Final Girls in total. She's the third and most recent. Even though it's been 9 years. There was Lisa Milner, who survived a sleep sorority house. A guy attacked a sorority house, and she survived that massacre. And then there's Samantha Boyd, who we haven't, the world really hasn't seen in a long time. She's gone off the grid, whereas Lisa Milner became a child psychologist and wrote a book and is out in the open and talking to people more. And then there's Samantha Boyd, who survived an attack on the hotel she was working at the time, and a lot of terrible things happened, and that leads us to our main character, who is Quincy, who survived an attack on her cabin that her and her college friends were staying at. There was a lot of drama about that too, and I really enjoyed that aspect as well, learning, and then as the story unfolded about what happened at Pine Cottage, makes it really interesting. At the very beginning of the novel, Lisa Milner is murdered. That's not a spoiler because it's right. It's right in the beginning. And everyone thinks it's a suicide at first. But it's not. She was actually murdered, and that's also a big mystery about this novel, is who murdered Lisa? Why did they murder Lisa? And I feel like there wasn't much of a conclusion as to why Lisa died in the book, and a lot of other things. There wasn't a lot of explanation as to why things happened the way they did. When you do find out who did the killing, and I'll go into that in the spoilers because there's a lot that just needs a lot more explaining, and it doesn't feel like it was explained enough in the 239-page novel or 339-page novel that we got. Another kind of not spoiler thing, and it's just been bothering me. I don't like the way this feels. Like, it doesn't, it's just not all nice and shiny, and it has these weird textures. So when I'm like reading, and I don't like how it felt. So I had to really read without this on. 'Cause I'm not about that life. So I had to read mainly with the cover off, and that's not anything about the author. It just didn't feel good reading like that. So I was not a fan of this. And I think that's really it on non-spoilers. The characters were fine. There was a couple of characters that I didn't particularly like. One being her mom, and the other being her boyfriend. And the others had Quincy like reasoning of why she was doing what she did. She had PTSD from what happened at Pine Cottage. And then Samantha Boyd, you find out a lot more about her. And so now we're going to be moving on to spoiler section. For the rest of this video, there will be spoilers talked about. If you have not read Final Girls, or if you really just don't care about spoilers, if you care about spoilers, don't watch the rest of this video. Bye. Hope you had a great day. Leave a like, comment, tell me what you're excited about. But if you have read this book or just don't care about spoilers, here we go. We're just going to move along. So, by the end of this book, I was feeling very, very, very mediocre about it. I was just like, okay, you took the cliche route. You didn't go the unreliable narrator route. You find out that the woman who we thought was Samantha Boyd, which we all had our doubts about her from the very beginning, isn't Samantha. Her name's Tina, what she said she changed her name to. Which at the time was like, okay, she's trying to get out of the limelight, whatever. But it's not Samantha. She has a very striking resemblance. And you're thinking, oh no, she's a psycho. She is, to an extent, a psycho, but she's not awful. I do like the fact that she just comes, her ways are misguided. She comes and wants answers for what happened, because she's kind of affected as well. She was a patient at the psychiatric hospital where the supposed murderer was also at, and she was really good friends with the supposed murderer as well. And it's just, she wants answers as much as anyone else wants answers. And she came to Lisa. Lisa couldn't give her answers that she wanted, so she left. Well, Lisa also kicked her out. And she went to Quincy, obviously. And her ways are misguided, and she goes to the very extreme of kidnapping Quincy and taking her to Pine Cottage. I think it turns out for the better, and it's a nice kind of climax, but it happens very quickly, and you're hit with all this information very quickly, and I think it actually works in the novel's favor because of the fact that she doesn't remember, and all of this is hitting her all at once. So when everything's hitting her all at once, it's hitting us all at once. I think it works within the novel. What doesn't work within the novel is Coop. At the very end, finding out that Coop actually was the murderer for this, all these killings, and not just Pine Cottage, but he also murdered Lisa, and then you find out he also murdered Samantha. Wow. Okay. So that twist came out of left field. It's actually kind of nice to have a novel where it's not who it's always kind of nice to have like this twist of it's not this mentally disabled person. Well, you found out Coop is actually mentally disabled. More kind of well, not necessarily mentally disabled, less so than what Joe was. We never find out really what Joe was in the psychiatric hospital for, why he was there. He got out and he was hanging out with these college kids. He was there at the wrong time, and the stigma about of mentally disabled people or people with mental disability, mental illness, and it played nicely to the narrative, and people just believed it. And also Quincy not remembering things also doesn't help her situation, because everyone got fatal wounds all across their bodies, whereas she was not fatally wounded. She was stabbed in places that wouldn't kill her, which didn't help her case at all, in the grand scheme of things. And then you find out Coop was the one that did it, and you're like, well, it's the person you think you can trust, and I didn't feel right after she slept with Coop when she has a boyfriend who I think is just misguided in his want to help her. I think he's trying to help her, but he's doing it in a way he thought, because she's had this pushed on her. This is what she thinks she needs, and he's pushing what she thinks she needs, but what she doesn't really need. And I think that's Jeff's problem. I don't think he's necessarily abusive. Her mother the same way. I think that she was pushing too much for something that she thought was the right thing, but ended up not being the right thing, and eventually harmful for Quincy. And in the end, she does have redemption, and Jeff, Jeff's left at the end of the novel because she cheated on him. I don't blame him for leaving for that reason. He's just like, okay, you cheated on me. This is obviously not working out, so bye. Which is kind of sad, but Quincy seems to be doing okay-ish by the end of the novel. I think it's hard. It's gonna be a hard month, hard time after her, because Tina goes to jail. She doesn't have Lisa. She doesn't have Samantha. Coop's dead by the end of the novel, and if he was alive by the end of the novel, she wouldn't want to talk to him by the end of the novel. Jeff's gone. I think the only confidant she has is her mother, she's just barely starting to have a more stable relationship with. And then at the end of the novel, we see there's another final girl, just happens, and she goes out and is like, hey, I'm going to help you. Because I've been there, and I want to teach you how to be a final girl. And I think that's what Quincy needs by the end of the novel. I think she didn't want it. Obviously, you don't want something terrible like that to happen to anybody. But I think finding this and this giving her a reason to step out and do and have her find more reasons to life, and helping this girl out, I think she really is going to take on this role of a role model like Lisa was, and wanting to do more for people who have survived these things. So I don't know if Quincy's story is continued. I think this is a standalone novel. I know Riley Sager has written more novels, more thriller novels. This is his first thriller. I think this was a fairly good first outing for a author. Again, I wish there was just more, and I wanted more about Coop. Why Coop did what he did, not just necessarily why the reason that he did what he did was because of him having this addiction kind of to killing. I guess is the best way to describe what's wrong with Coop in the end of the novel. I think he's just a psychopath by the end of the novel, and I think he's a psychopath by the end of the novel. And yeah, that's it. That's Final Girls. I give this 3.5 stars. It was sitting at a nice 3-star before the twist about Coop happened, and just the Coop whole thing, it brought it down, and it was really feeling mediocre up to that point. So sits nicely at a 3.5 stars. Yeah, if you've read this novel, tell me what you thought about it. And tell me just anything. What are you reading right now? I will be reading either The Babysitter's Club #2 next, or which is called Claudia and the Phantom Phone Calls. I have it sitting right in front of me. Or 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle will be next. I need to read that for We Be Booking, so that will probably be my next one. If I don't get a hard copy soon, I'll be reading Claudia and the Phantom Phone Calls. And I just got a couple birthday gifts today, so yes, I'm very, very, very excited. So reading vlogs will be coming back soon. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.